So for today's lesson, we're going to do another turnaround move, but we're going to stick to the 5-4-1 turnaround and create momentum and contrast by using triplet licks over the 4 chord in the turnaround. So we're going to play from B7 to A7 to E7, and we're going to use a triplet lick from the A7 chord to take us back to the E. It will make a lot more sense if I just show you instead of try to explain it with words. So let's go. So your basic turnaround starts when you get to the B7 chord, goes to the A7, and then to the E, where you then have one of these kinds of moves. So there's sort of the turnaround in the larger sense of the last 4 bars of a 12-bar blues. Those 4 bars. And there's also the turnaround in the smaller sense of that thing that happens in the 11th bar and takes you to the 12th bar. Right? That's also called the turnaround. But right now we're looking at sort of the bigger picture of what we're going to do to get from the B7 through the A7 and then land on the E. So whatever you play on the B7, when we get to the A7, we're going to do that move. And the lick itself is made up out of major and minor pentatonic stuff. And so if you think about the major pentatonic being the 3rd and the 5th and the 6th and the root and maybe the 2nd up here, and then the minor pentatonic, the flat 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the flat 7, the root, and the flat 3rd. When you put those together, you've got that whole collection of notes. So we're going to play triplets. And so it's triplets because it's 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, as opposed to just regular 8th notes, 1, 2, and 3 and 4 and, right? So the lick itself, the first part starts off with a pull off from the flat 3rd to open, and then the 2nd to open, and then the 6th to the open 2nd string. So the second half of the measure. And so that's pulling off from the flat 7 to open 2nd string, to this, and then the 6th to the open string, then going down to the 4th, and then hammering onto the major 3rd. So the whole thing, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. And without me talking, you could just put that over a steady bass in A. And that's actually probably a good way to practice it at first. But you could also have a bit more motion in the bass, where you could have so you're going from A, kind of implying an A sharp diminished, implying a B7, and then a B7 with the 5th in the bass. And so that's all happening while the lick is happening. Like that. Now the fingering for the left hand is a little tricky. So here are some thoughts about doing that. You might start off using your pinky for the pull-offs on top. You've got an open string in the bass. Continue with your pinky while the index finger comes in for the A sharp in the bass. And then here, go to the middle finger for the B in the bass, do the first pull-off on the 2nd string with your pinky, and then go to ring finger, which pulls off as the middle finger goes over to the F sharp, Then the ring finger gets that note, the second fret on the third string. And then the index finger is free to do the hammer on before you go to open strings for the low and the high string. So in slow motion, it looks like this. And once you've got it up to tempo, like that. So that's the idea. Again, you'd be coming from some kind of B7 chord at the beginning of the third line. And then landing on E, where you could then do whatever kind of turnaround move you want in measures 11 and 12. We tend to think of improvising as something that people magically make up on the spot, but a lot of what improvising is about is just having a deep vocabulary of moves that you know will work for any particular part of the tune. So that's what turnaround licks like this are good for. Once you start to have a handful of these under your fingers, when you get to that moment in the tune, you've got choices. And that's one of the big stepping stones towards feeling like you can just make stuff up on the spot. If you'd like to build your vocabulary with more turnarounds, more bass lines, more fingerstyle blues licks, chord voicings, and the tunes to apply them to from both the traditional repertoire and more contemporary ideas, I recommend you check out my membership, The Fingerstyle 5, which you can learn more about at the link below. In the meantime, if you've got a question about today's lesson, leave it for me down below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.